In 1953, a seamstress in Cincinnati raised 4 children on her husband's $4,800 a year wage and still moved $12 to savings every single month. When she died in 1991, her daughter found 3 passbook accounts, a coffee can with $840 in it, and a house paid off in 1967. Her husband had never known about 2 of those accounts. Her daughter had known about all 3, because her mother had drilled the rules into her, one at a time, at a kitchen table every Tuesday morning. These skills were never written in newspapers or finance books. They moved hand to hand, mother to daughter, spoken quietly in kitchens and sewing rooms, and we abandoned every one of them the moment the credit industry arrived selling easier roads. We called their discipline old-fashioned. We traded ownership for monthly payments and told ourselves it was progress. Number 22 on this list helped a seamstress in Cleveland put $3,400 aside on a $4,800 wage in an account her own husband never knew existed, and it was waiting there the day she needed it most. Number 14 was so quietly subversive that no financial institution in 1962 was teaching it, because the women who practiced it never wrote it down anywhere a man would think to look. And number 1, the rule every mother on this list enforced before all others, built more household wealth than any strategy the modern financial industry sells today. These 30 skills were not about clipping coupons. They were about sovereignty. A woman who knew where every dollar went before it left the house and made sure some of it never did was a woman who answered to no bank and no creditor. We stopped teaching that the day we started buying on credit. Hit that subscribe button. Let us count down the 30 secret money skills 1950s mothers taught their daughters to build wealth. Number 30, buy less house than he wanted. Not less than the bank approved, less than the husband wanted. When the bank said $16,000, she chose the $10,500 house. The smaller payment freed $40 a month. That $40 built everything else. Her daughter kept one line: the house is not the goal. The paid-off house is the goal. The post-war boom was engineered to sell the bank's maximum. Mothers who watched families lose homes in 1932 were not impressed. A smaller house is not a smaller life. It is a longer leash on every dollar that comes in. Number 29, the grocery envelope. Every Monday, the grocery money went into an envelope. That envelope fed the family for the week. When it was empty, shopping was done. Not paused. Done. Plan the meals. Buy what the plan requires. Fold whatever remains into savings. Her daughter learned price per ounce before she learned long division. The supermarket arrived in the 1950s, engineered to tempt. Banks stopped offering envelope systems the moment credit cards generated more revenue. You cannot overspend an envelope. That is the whole design. Number 28, the mending habit. She never discarded a garment that could be repaired. Darned socks, turned collars, let hems out as children grew. A woman who mended cut the clothing budget in half. The other half went into savings. No one looked poor. They looked cared for. She passed the mending basket to her daughter at 10. A needle costs 20 cents. A new shirt costs $3. The math is the math. The ready-to-wear industry called disposable fashion modern. She called it a budget leak. The garment you repair is the dollar you keep. Number 27, never sign what you do not understand. One rule delivered before her daughter married: read everything. Sign nothing you cannot explain back in plain words. She had watched a neighbor lose a washing machine to a clause she never read, and another family pay 3 times a sofa's cost in finance charges. Her daughter read every document she ever signed. Her son-in-law thought she was suspicious. She was careful. Not the same thing. Consumer contracts multiplied in the 1950s faster than families could track them. The fine print was where the profit lived. The line you do not read is the one that costs you the house. Number 26, teach your children to work for their wants. She did not buy her children what they wanted. She paid them for what they earned. 25 cents for weeding, 50 for the car, $1 for a full Saturday. Every want had a price the child was expected to meet. A child who never earns a want grows into an adult who finances one, drilled into working-class mothers since the Depression. Work before want, the code, and it never bent. Number 25, the second use rule. She discarded nothing that still held a use. Bread bags became sandwich bags. Coffee cans became storage. Worn sheets became dish towels. Dish towels became rags. Every object died doing a second job. Grocery bill lower. Replacement cost lower. Savings account higher. Her daughter's daughter pays extra for it and calls it sustainability. The grandmother did it because waste was a luxury she had not earned. The Depression had drilled into that generation that resources were finite. She never quite believed the 1950s version otherwise. The second use of a thing is the first dollar saved. Number 24, the quiet wealth rule. She saved more than any woman on her street. Not one of them ever knew it. She wore what her neighbors wore and said nothing that revealed the coffee can in the cellar. A woman who displays what she has invites the hands of those who want it. She taught that line to her daughter like scripture. This rule never appeared in a finance book. It lived in kitchens, passed between women who had watched displayed prosperity invite disaster. The wealth you do not announce is the wealth that stays. Number 23, layaway before credit. She used layaway for every large purchase. Pick the item, put $1 down, pay weekly until it is yours, then bring it home, never before. Her daughter watched her collect the final receipt for a kitchen table in 1957, not with relief, with satisfaction. The table was hers before it crossed the threshold. Layaway disappeared when credit cards arrived. Layaway made stores wait. Credit made customers pay twice. Number 22, the hidden account. The math always favored the card for the bank. Own it before you bring it home. In 1954, a mother in Cleveland opened a savings account 2 miles from her house in her name alone. $2 a week, without exception. Not about distrust. It was what her own mother had drilled into her. A woman with no money of her own has no options of her own. By 1971, when her husband died at 54, she had $3,400 waiting. She never panicked. She had planned for the unplannable. In the 1950s, married women had limited financial standing. The mothers who understood this opened accounts anyway. A woman's own account is not defiance. It is a foundation. Here is what the history books leave out. The household economy of 1950s America did not run on the husband's paycheck. It ran on the woman who managed it, who held the envelope, kept the ledger, and moved the first dollar to savings before the second went to rent. The financial industry of 1960s handed those same women credit cards, which were not tools. They were replacements. The envelope became a balance. The ledger became a statement. The discipline became a minimum payment. We abandoned the system and called the new one convenient. What these mothers carried was structural. The industry called it old-fashioned. What moved through kitchens on Tuesday mornings is now sold back in apps and planners that charge a monthly fee. Number 21, Scratch cooking as savings strategy. Everything from scratch: bread, soup, pie. Never boxes. A mother in Milwaukee in 1956 held the grocery bill for a family of 6 to $22 a week for 11 years. A neighbor buying convenience foods spent $31 for a family of 4. $9 a week was $468 a year, leaving in cardboard packaging. Her daughter understood by 12, the loaf costing 12 cents sold for 32. Markup before algebra. Convenience food was sold as liberation. She called it a budget leak in bright packaging. The woman who cooks from scratch pays herself the difference. Number 20. Save the raise, spend the wage. Every time her husband got a raise, the raise went to savings. Not a cent touched daily spending. He never felt it in his pocket. He felt it years later in a paid-off mortgage and a soft retirement. Her one-sentence lesson: if we survived on last year's wage, we do not need this year's difference. Bank it before it becomes invisible. Wage growth in the 1950s was real. The mothers who captured each raise built something lasting. The ones who spent it built a bigger life and a smaller margin. A raise only grows you if it goes somewhere it cannot be touched. Number 19. The barter network. A mother in Pittsburgh in 1953 traded canned tomatoes for alterations, garden vegetables for piano lessons, and a week of child care for a repaired coat. No ledger, no taxes, no interest. The women in her neighborhood were the market. Her daughter called it community. Her mother called it efficiency. Both were right. This economy moved through kitchens and backyards, never generated a receipt, and was invisible to economists, yet it stretched the household budget in ways no bank account could measure. What you trade costs nothing. What you pay costs everything. Number 18. Never borrow from family. Money never moved between family members as a loan. Either it was a gift or it did not move. She had watched her mother's relationship with a sister collapse over a $30 loan in 1941. The money was small. The damage was permanent. She drilled the reason into her daughter. Family debt accrues in silence, in resentment, at every table they will ever share. The informal family loan was common in working-class neighborhoods. The fallout from an unpaid one was more common. A borrowed dollar from family costs more than $1. It always has. Number 17. The coat rule. One coat every 5 to 7 years. The best she could afford, cared for with cedar, worn until the weight of it knew her shoulders. A cheap coat is not a savings. It is a replacement schedule. A good coat outlives the impulse that bought it by a decade. The same rule held for shoes, knives, cast iron. Buy quality once, own it. The post-war economy was engineered for turnover. She bought against it once, deliberately. The quality you cannot afford to replace is cheaper than the cheapness you replace twice. Number 16. The lump sum rule. The tax refund came every February. It went to savings, every cent. That same week. Not to furniture, not to vacation, to savings before anyone formed an idea about it. She told her daughter, "Your father will have 3 plans by Thursday. Put it away by Tuesday." By the late 1960s, banks were marketing refund season as a buying opportunity. She treated every refund as a deposit every year. The windfall you protect is the argument nobody can have. In 1965, researchers at the University of Michigan studied American household finances. Their finding: households where women managed day-to-day finances showed measurably higher savings rates, not because they earned more, but because they managed what came in with a discipline the researchers described as exceptional. The team expected investment strategies. They found envelopes, ledgers, layaway receipts, savings accounts in women's names at banks across town. They found behavioral architecture, friction built between the money and the spending to make saving automatic. These women had not read academic papers. They had learned from mothers who understood, bone deep, that a dollar unguarded was a dollar already gone. The women who managed the money were, without recognition, the ones who kept it. Number 15, the Sunday night budget review. Every Sunday evening, she sat with the household ledger and the coming week's expenses and balanced the two before bed. Review what was spent. Plan what is needed. Adjust before the week begins, not after it ends. Her daughter watched from age 9 and understood money was not something that happened to a household. It was managed on purpose at a table. The Sunday review was a habit, not glamorous, not complex, unbroken for 40 years. A week you plan for always costs less than the week that surprises you. Number 14, the money lesson she taught on purpose. A mother in Dayton in 1956 handed her 11-year-old daughter $1 and walked through every decision that came with it. Not spend it, decide with it. Save how much, spend how much. Is the want worth the full dollar? Her daughter would inherit a world not built in her interest. Knowledge was the only armor, passed deliberately at a kitchen table for free. No institution taught it. It moved through kitchens, woman to woman, generation to generation. The lesson a mother teaches costs nothing. The lesson never taught costs a lifetime. Number 13, the freezer strategy. She bought meat in bulk when the price dropped. In 1961, she bought a side of beef for $47 and fed her family red meat for 4 months. The lesson: when a staple falls below its normal floor, buy as much as you can store. The cost per meal drops for months. Her daughter applied the same logic to flour, sugar, and coffee for the rest of her life. A sale was a buying signal, not a treat. Chest freezers were new in the 1950s. The mothers who used them as savings tools built real household security. The pantry is a savings account. It pays in meals. Number 12, wants versus needs. One distinction, taught at age 8, governed every purchase in that household for 30 years. Need: food, shelter, warmth, medicine. Want: everything else until proven otherwise. She required her daughter to name the category out loud before asking for anything. Half the time, the naming ended the request. The consumer economy was engineered to blur exactly this line. The mothers who taught the question built resistance the ads could not easily overcome. A want is not a need until you say so out loud and mean it. Number 11, teach the price per use. She never evaluated a purchase by sticker price. She evaluated it by cost per use. A $12 coat, worn 200 times, cost 6 cents a wearing. A $4 coat, worn 8 times, cost 50 cents. The expensive coat was cheap. The cheap coat was expensive. She ran this arithmetic in her head every time. She passed the math to her daughter before the girl bought her first adult clothing. The disposable goods economy needed customers who saw only the sticker. The mothers who taught differently raised daughters the market could not easily overcharge. Price per use is the only price that matters across a lifetime. Number 10, the children's savings account. At age 7, her daughter walked to the bank beside her and opened a passbook account with 50 cents. She required the girl to deposit something every month. a dime, a quarter. The deposit was never optional. The habit was the lesson. The balance was proof the habit worked. By 17, the daughter had $87 and had internalized that money moved from her hand to a bank account on a regular schedule, a belief that ran her household for 50 years. In the mid-1950s, banks courted school savings programs. The mothers were not building bankers, they were building a reflex. The reflex of saving is worth more than the amount saved, and it compounds. Number 9. The comparison shop rule. She never bought the first price she saw. 3 stores, 3 prices, 1 purchase, built into every significant buy. 3 prices meant one was always lower. Lower meant dollars saved before anything was bought. 15 minutes between stores could save more per hour than any extra shift the husband worked. She understood the arithmetic. She did the minutes. The department store was engineered to make comparison feel unnecessary. She ignored the design. The first price is the store's offer. The third is yours. Number 8. The annual bills envelope. Every annual bill was divided into 12 equal pieces, set aside monthly before any other spending. Property taxes, insurance, car registration, dentist, each was treated as a monthly obligation. When the bill arrived, the envelope was full. The money was already there. Her daughter watched her pull the property tax envelope in November and mail the check without disturbance. The bill was never a surprise. The money was never missing. Households that did not prepare borrowed to cover annual bills. Borrowing always cost more than the bill. An annual bill is just a monthly obligation 12 months away. Number 7. No is a complete sentence. One rule about financial requests from neighbors, relatives, salesmen, and eventually husbands. No is a complete sentence. You owe no explanation for how you spend or save. The explanation is the opening the other person needs. Remove the opening. She had watched her own mother talk herself into loans she could not afford, simply by feeling obligated to explain her refusal. This skill appeared in no finance book. It was passed woman to woman, in an era when a woman's financial decisions were constantly questioned. The no that requires no explanation is the strongest one you have. Number 6. The sinking fund, before it had a name. 7 envelopes on a kitchen shelf, each labeled furnace, roof, car repair, doctor, Christmas, vacation, school. Every payday, a small fixed amount went into each one. When the need arrived, the money was there. No panic, no borrowing. She called it being ready. It was invented on kitchen shelves by women who knew the furnace would die in January. Being ready is not luck. It is a labeled envelope and a payday habit. Number 5. Never let the pantry go empty. She kept 2 weeks of staples on the shelves, restocked before they ran low, never after. A family that never ran out, never paid the emergency premium. She never sent her husband to the store for one thing on a Saturday night. That was where the budget died. A sick week, a missed paycheck, a hard winter. None of it threatened the meals. The empty pantry buys at emergency prices. The full pantry buys on its own terms. Number 4. The annual financial review. Every January, she sat her husband down and reviewed the prior year's finances. What came in, what went out, where the gaps were, where the progress was. She did not ask permission to hold the meeting. She held it. Her daughter observed from age 14. Her mother was not reporting to her father. She was managing them both. The ledger was the authority in that room. The formal review happened where women made it happen. A year you cannot account for is a year you cannot improve. Number 3, show the real cost of debt. A single piece of paper, a $500 installment loan, 3 years of payments, total paid back, $674. The difference, $174, was the price of not waiting. She put the number on the table and said nothing. The number spoke for itself. Her daughter never forgot it. She paid cash for every depreciating purchase she ever made. The installment plan depended on the customer never doing this arithmetic. She did it at a kitchen table with a pencil for free. The price of impatience is printed on every loan contract. Read it first. Number 2, keep the ledger. A mother in Dayton in 1950 wrote down every cent her family spent every week for 41 years. Bread, gas, dentist, shoes, church, insurance, every category, every column, every month totaled compared to the month before, reviewed for waste. She found the waste. She cut it. The ledger was not punishment. It was information. For a woman on a single income, information was the only leverage she had. Her daughter inherited 41 notebooks, every column still adding up. The ledger does not judge. It counts. Counting is enough. Number 1, spend less than you take in. Always. The oldest rule, the plainest one. The one every mother here held before she held any other. 10 cents of every dollar went to savings first, before any bill, before any want. First. Not most months, every month. Not when it was easy, especially when it pinched. She called it the rule, not a strategy. The rule. It did not bend for Christmas or a broken furnace. It held because she held it. She taught it to her daughter the same way her own mother had taught it to her, at a table with the ledger open. The amount was never what mattered. The order was everything. None of these women held financial credentials. None had advisors, investment accounts, or apps. They had a kitchen table, a ledger, an envelope, and a rule passed from a mother who learned it from hers. What they built was not accidental. It was structural. Dollar by dollar, week by week, decade by decade, they assembled foundations that held families steady through recessions, layoffs, and the ordinary catastrophes of ordinary life. They did not call it wealth management. They passed it to their daughters the same way they passed everything else, quietly at the table, without a certificate or fee. What was lost when this stopped moving through kitchens is not small. Wealth is not built by the size of the income. It is built by the discipline of a woman who knew the distance between what came in and what went out was not poverty, it was power. Those women are fading. The rules have not changed. Pass it down. That was always the point.